A Minnesota man's quest to sue his way back into his former home is giving federal judges a preview of what the AI-fueled future looks like in court. What kind of a future would that be? Would be a question I'd ask. How is that a genuine public purpose? The New York Times reports that 69-year-old Donald Schwab, acting without a lawyer, went from scribbled complaints that were rejected by the court to a sleek AI-assisted avalanche, a typed federal lawsuit, plus 50 add-on filings generated with ChatGPT and Claude. His case was dismissed again, but not before a chief judge ordered any future filings, quote, shredded without any additional notice, close quote, and warned that litigants can't just bury courts in paperwork and expect judges to dig for a viable claim. And I'll just let you know, this is an old tactic they used to do. It's partly true. The court shouldn't be overwhelmed, but this is something how they started defeating people. So-called patriots were getting themselves in trouble, making it worse for everybody when they thought they knew the law. Now we're AI enhanced in that capacity. The judges are quickly coming down to say no. Quote, judges still only have 24 hours in a day, close quote, says MIT's Anand V. Shah, who recently co-authored a study on the matter. But something has to give at some point, close quote. The Times details how Schwab's story reflects a broader surge, like an epidemic of contagion. So-called, quote, pro se, close quote, for oneself cases are rising, with Shaw's research finding AI text showing up in nearly 1 in 5 such complaints. Some judges call AI a potential, quote, existential threat, close quote, to already strained dockets, with courts issuing warnings or fines over bogus AI-invented citations. Again, it's a tool. You better know what you're doing when you run that tool, and you have to review everything. And this is a little bit of a bugaboo to me, citations that don't exist or can't be found or whatever. Wow. You find them all over the place, even in the so-called state professionals that do this. Quote, I didn't know AI could be wrong at first, close quote. A Las Vegas woman who tapped into chatbots for her own federal suit tells Reuters, quote, it was like telling me Santa Claus was not real, close quote. Others, however, see a tool that, if used carefully, could expand access to justice to those who can't afford representation. Used appropriately, it could be an incredibly powerful tool for someone who believes themselves to have been wronged and has a good faith belief in the entitlement to redress, close quote, attorney Stephen Donahue tells the Times. And I'll offer, without AI working with somebody, the question was, do we file this paper? And I said, well, it's supported in law. Why wouldn't you? It was supported by the facts and the law properly applied. Why wouldn't you? In fact, not putting it in leaves your record open to a failure. And so this is a very important point. You have to do the work. It may give you a lead. AI may lead you somewhere, but it's not going to do that work. Why would we give no instruction, allow these multi-billion-dollar AI data surveillance centers be built, taking our farmland of no less, to cause people to not be able to understand how to get their remedy? It's an interference with that legal remedy that they need. How is that interference a genuine public purpose? How did the state demonstrate that it was going to work around that, or not work around it, but solve that, or not allow it, before they decided to take your stuff for nothing, for farmland price, when it's actually worth the price of the value of the land that the data center sits on? U.S. government protecting data cartels. Whistleblower to RT. Sam Altman's OpenAI is building a monopoly of human knowledge, Zach Voorhees has warned. And the insult to every man and woman, calling them humans, monsters without inheritable blood. You'll have no property, animal, and like it. Aside, this creep, define intelligence. Why the demeaning adjective human before the undefined term intelligence? And in what context as well? Are not a question, but an admission to inferior, diminished, fallen capacity, not perfect knowledge. Don't underestimate this important standard, perfect knowledge. If your mind immediately asked whom has perfect knowledge, and that it's not actually knowledge you obtained from a black box, whether or not under your purported control, you'd be right. You've exposed the fraud. Whom has perfect knowledge to claim the mantle of omniscient perfection to be bestowed at his Epstein-class sick pleasure upon my listener? As we heard last episode, even using this human knowledge library compilation tool is detrimental to the cognitive function of the users, this pathetic Altman creature. How cognitively challenged is Altman, the creator, the extensive user of this neuro-linguistic behavioral incapacitator, that we keep giving him the floor, instead of a small rock outcropping in the South China Sea? AI megacorporations like OpenAI and Anthropic have scraped every word of human knowledge from the internet, and the U.S. government is helping them sell it back to the public. Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees has told RT. Right, the United States government is more interested in corporate profits, commercial advantage, what it was established to do, than to look out for the needs first of we the people, thinking we ever really had a say after, sadly, the first 20 years, and every 20 years thereafter, that the tree of liberty was not refreshed with the blood of tyrants, and certainly not after the post-founding father Lincolnized era that we're now presently in. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman caused controversy last month during an appearance at BlackRock in Washington, D.C., when he described his company's vision as, quote, a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us as on a meter, close quote. And they're not going to be buying much water and electricity if those data centers use it all up, are they? In Altman's future, is that going to be your future? You going to allow it? AI companies will essentially charge users for access to data that they have collected for free, scraping libraries, archives, forums, and everywhere else knowledge is stored. Quote, these cartels have gone through and they downloaded the data for themselves before anybody else knew about it, and then once they downloaded it, they shut the door behind them, which prevents researchers, it prevents startups from being able to challenge them, close quote, Voorhees told RT on Friday. Okay, let's go back to the part where they collected information. Not knowledge, just mere information for free by scraping libraries, archives, and forums. And everywhere else knowledge is stored. And tell me, why is archive.org not that nearly complete existing library of information that an open source AI generative agent or better could access to a result superior to the promotions of an Epstein-class Altman or the other exploiters of mankind? The U.S. government has helped AI companies operate as cartels, he argued, by waging, quote, lawfare, close quote, against free alternatives. Using the U.S. purse to promote an inferior, inaccurate, private black box information gathering result on the public dime is by definition prohibited, fraud, waste, and abuse, and contrary to the needs or rights of a freely informed people. We're back to, what's the genuine public purpose for this? These free alternatives include Anna's Archive, which bills itself as, quote, the largest truly open library in human history, close quote, and was ordered to pay Spotify $300 million in damages last month for scraping the entire platform, and Z Library, which was shut down by the FBI in 2022. But why isn't archive.org mentioned here? These sites work what essentially are the great libraries of Alexandria of our time. And right now, the United States is burning them to the ground, close quote, where he said, pointing out that OpenAI has been granted, quote, essentially a monopoly, close quote, on information by the government. Information, yes, not knowledge. Government monopolized information contrary to the First Amendment. How is that a genuine public interest? The sourcing that come from a data center. How is that feeding that violation of the First Amendment? Any genuine government interest for the purpose of a takings demonstration? This monopoly, however, faces a challenge from Chinese AI firms like DeepSeek and Qwen. But why hasn't this monopoly been challenged by we the people right here at home? Is how generally we the people know we are captured, cognitively challenged, occupied people that wouldn't know a great America again if AI told us so and was correct. This monopoly facing a challenge from Chinese AI firms like DeepSeek and Qwen, which have scraped and collected the same information as the American counterparts. As I suggested, where is the open source Linux-style distro equivalent to a free generative agent using archive.org and similar libraries to shove into creepy Uncle Sam Altman's face, challenging the propriety of such government speak monopolization? What's going to happen is that these other cartels from these other countries are going to be able to drive the cost down, and hopefully that's what we will see here, for he said. But cost? What happened to free? Why does the government not subsidize free with all the expenditures provided to monopolization? A former engineer at Google, Voorhees, leaked more than 950 pages of internal documents in 2019, which revealed that the search engine giants blacklisted hundreds of websites and hid them from users' news feeds. And open source AI can't unhide those sites when we get to need them? It just can't find them? Like, what's the Tor? The deep web? It can't find all that? Among the blacklisted sites were conservative news outlets like Daily Caller, Drudge Report, and Gateway Pundit, and I wouldn't doubt, but blacklisted news probably. Hope you've been good, Doug. Haven't seen you since Oracle. Hope you've been doing well. One document revealed that Google employed, quote, human raters, close quote, to sift through videos on YouTube and Google-owned platform and flag them for, quote, fake news and other fringe, quote, close quote, content. Why was archive.org not mentioned there, too? And yes, I know it's under attack because it's deemed alternative and not the library of the people and need that historical information. When I think they redefined that for us, then we're going to see some of this. And as I say that, what about access to the archives of the United States government itself? The mountains of info we are told the United States government has already collected on our dime, so they tell us, and has stored in places. And let me offer something as well. It came in through, and I just kind of never forgot about it. I forgot about it, but microfiche is still around. It's hard to find them, but apparently there's some microfiche, quite a bit of libraries of microfiche that have not been digitized that maybe you want to start hunting down. That came through quite a few months ago that someone had happened onto big boxes and boxes of microfiche and a reader and a digitizer. So look out for all that. Ready to go. That's what we used to use in the day. To prevent AI companies manipulating their scraped knowledge in the same way, Voorhees argued that they should eventually be forced to reveal how their models work. Quote, we are going to have to crack these models open and look inside, close quote, he said, to determine, quote, whether they are fair, close quote. Well, first of all, just don't use them and we don't have to worry about it. But at that point, who defines fair? So how about we just obsolete these corporate AI parasites? Because I'm just wondering, there isn't enough creative quality programmers in the world to make it so for us, just as Linux has been made universally available? Why isn't it better that we just, again, have our own AI, get these things like Linux, get our own AI, and forget these big data centers? The data center absolutely points out to a monopolization by the government, why it's been promoted. Is that a genuine government purpose to do that against the people? Is one of the tacks you should consider as you challenge any takings or even the propriety of them doing it at all. And something else the government is doing very cheap. And as I said, when we heard the administration was begging for 80 to 100 billion Bravo dollars to pay for Operation Epic Foobar, and that made it into a tag team, I think, by the way, BTW, by the way, I said it would likely be shown to cost even more very quickly. And from the Department of You Don't Say, price tag for U.S. military op against Iran exceeds $100 billion. The United States has spent more than $100 billion Bravo dollars on its military operations against Iran. The Iran War Cost Tracker shows The figure does not account for the ceasefire declared in the meantime.